I don't know why that never starts with the audio. Anyway, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all my blessed beloveds out there in living and thriving land. Today is another episode on what tips and tricks are you doing to stay at home, stay positive, stay creative, motivate yourself, and get excited about life. Right now, it's a little challenging for a lot of people. And so I've taken my radio show to a visual because unfortunately, we don't really get to see many people. I do have to say I'm deeply disappointed at how many people are on the road today. I had to do my run out and it just was like there was no stay-at-home order at all. Seemed like every day. In order to fight this and beat this and get back to our normal lives, we definitely have to stay home. So some of the takeaways that we've gotten from this past few shows are, what is your passion? What is your mission statement? Have you recreated your mission statement? Hi, Kevin. What are you doing creatively while you are at home? What are you doing to be of service? What kinds of things are you doing to help your neighbors, your friends, your family? What are you doing outside of your normal self? And so today I'm really thrilled to have Kevin on. It's been a long time since we've spoken. He is extremely busy. His work and his service has just really been tackling him lately. So we're going to take about 25 minutes and check out what he's doing in his world and how he can motivate us, inspire us, and get us to be a little bit more creative at this time. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How much weight did you lose? Wow.
Oh, 60 pounds maybe?
Noted. That's how long I haven't seen you.
Yeah, I've lost about 60 pounds since July, and I put on actually more than that because I put on about 20 pounds of muscle. So.
Oh, good for you. How are you doing that?
Well, the first thing I'm doing is I'm using my FitnessPal app. So I'm going to tell people out there that if you're looking to be more aware of things on this, like there's a thing in quarantine where people may overeat or eat bad things or not be aware because it's easy to just like pick things up, stress eating, anxiety eating, having more food around, having more things that you're have access to than if you go to an office or you're working in a store. You can't just open up the cabinet and start eating. So I was using the FitnessPal app before. It's free, but nothing goes in my mouth unless it goes in the app first. So I'm tracking my calories and my breakdown and stuff. And I've really felt like during this time of, I call it the time of COVID, that it has definitely helped even more so make me aware to not do any stress eating.
Well, what's funny about that is I was considered an essential worker. I had the letter and everything. I was a tax preparer, and I got very, very sick. I ended up with pneumonia. So I had to go into quarantine, and I ended up gaining 15 pounds. It's so easy to do right now to just board eat. So I've got to get back on track.
Yeah. So when on this, so one of the things is, because I've done a number of things to be aware of, I've done a number of things as this, and like you talked about being an essential service. The first thing I did was I put all my, I started moving all my classes to online. Mm-hmm. There's a number of different programs out there. If you have something that you teach, something that you share, and if you're lucky, you have something you can share that you can charge for, because I charge for all my classes. Mm-hmm. But even if you have something to put out there that's going to keep your clientele interested, or feel like you're doing a service or doing something that you can add, getting there so that you can be having a feeling of interacting I mean, we're not in the same room, but you're seeing me, I'm seeing you. And so we're able to at least have that kind of connective energy.
Right.
So I think that that's very important for people to do. Now, I didn't realize that my business was actually going to go up when quarantine happened. And so I had a number of things that I was kind of prepared to, to take to be more productive. And again, I've had my own business for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I have multiple streams of income. I have multiple different things. I had a goal of a number of books I wanted to get out this year. I started creating my own tarot deck. I loaded up my basement with all the art supplies to paint the 78 pictures, did all this stuff, and I have had zero time to do any of it because I've been so busy.
Welcome to my world. I was really looking forward to being able to edit my 13th book, and I have not had, I had an hour and a half. I literally have been back to back with everything else. So it's really a transforming time period for people like us with what we do. Give the audience an understanding of exactly what it is that you do, who you are, because I apologize, I did not call you Dr. Kevin, and where they can find more information about you, but larger, just when you do your little intro, your mini commercial, I want to get into real deep what you're doing to stay sane and excited and motivated and inspired and on a higher level than what we're surrounded with right now.
So the very first thing is, so my quick thumbnail. So I started doing professional psychic work in the 70s. I was still a teenager, and I went from that to becoming a real person, getting a real job, getting real degrees. So my first degrees are in business and psychology. I spent a dozen years in the corporate world doing a number of different things. But, from like 75 to probably about 80, for about 5 years, my life was really defined by my creative side and my intuitive side. And so at that point, that's when I started working with tarot and astrology and doing professional psychic work and doing hands-on healing and all of that stuff. And then that all went under the surface and was still present during all my years in corporate. But obviously in corporate, you don't go in and talk about how your psychic solved the problem. And then in 1990, I left all of that behind and started my own spiritual business, which I have now. And as I have evolved that, I currently have a dozen books out on the market. My goal is to get 8 more out this year that are all in some form of almost done, blah, blah, but I've not had the energy for the final push to get several of them out. And so my primary practice at this point is as a spiritual coach, counselor, and catalyst. I work with people in a number of different ways to help them become who they're here to be. Now, underneath that auspice, I still do what I call everything psychic readings, where I work as a medical intuitive, a medium. I will go in and help you heal, like discover inner children, old wounds, blocks. If you look at my primary practice, you would almost think psychotherapist, except I'm dealing with it from the spiritual coaching, counseling, catalyst perspective. So it gives me a whole leg up of information and identifying the person as more than an emotion or a belief system. It's that holistic kind of bringing it all in. What's been interesting is that my practice goes up and down a lot as far as like what is in the primary focus of my practice. Because 5 of my books out are on ADD and ADHD. And so, I've spent a lot of time working with ADD as part of the evolutionary process, broadening the bandwidth of humanity, not a disease, disorder, or disability. And I've been doing that since the late 90s. So my first book on that came out in 2000, which is very early on in that particular crisis of over-medicating and using our children as laboratory rats and cash cows. And then, but sometimes it's more medical intuitive. Sometimes it's more healing from the past. Sometimes it's more developing yourself of who am I here to be. I define empowerment as the power to be uniquely who you are without apology. And we're trained to apologize for our uniqueness today, for our individuality. We're forced to apologize for not fitting into somebody else's comfort zone. And as I tell all my ADD and ADHD people, you were not born to fit in, you were born to stand out. So just give that up. So there's my hopefully quick thumbnail. So the number one thing, so there's a few different things that I'm doing. Again, I'm not in quarantine like other people are in quarantine. I'm not sitting here going, I don't have a daily job. I'm working 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And part of that work that I'm doing actually is I am doing remote healing with, I think it's 5 people now that have COVID and have been looking at COVID from a medical intuitive perspective. I find it very interesting. I'm actually going to be releasing a video later this week of COVID from a medical intuitive's perspective. A video I'm just putting out. There's no charge to it. I'm just going to be throwing it out into the thing. But I decided I needed to do that because they're starting to say some of the things that I was seeing a month ago. And now they're starting to say, oh, well, we realize this and we realize that. And I know that I always tend to be on that side of the curve of, I'll say something as a medical intuitive and people will laugh and scoff. And then a month, 2 months, a decade later, suddenly traditional medicine or psychology or whatever starts saying exactly what I was saying before. And everyone wants to conveniently forget, I already told you that, but you wouldn't believe me because you didn't like my source. So I decided to put this out also because it would be helpful. And I actually do have one of the classes out that people can choose to go take, and this is a paid class. I put out free stuff and paid stuff, is Surviving in a Toxic World. And it talks about what you need to be aware of. But here is some how to deal with the quarantine things. Set routine and regimen. I still get up every morning, and I encourage everybody that I work with, get up, and if it would normally be a work day, shower, dress, whatever you do, do your hair, do your makeup, get in your clothes. Maybe not, they don't have to be quite as formal if you're a 3-piece suit guy, or you don't have to, do the high boof if, whatever, but dress as this is a work day. Decide what your work for that day is and treat it with the same level of respect, maybe even more in some cases, than you were as if you were going into a workplace. Create that list of anything from the honey-do list of these are the things I can get around to the house, to the I want to learn list, to I've always wanted to leave the man and work for myself. Well, this is a wonderful time to actually be upgrading a potentially entrepreneurial skill set. Mm-hmm. To decide what do you have to offer, what do you need to do. But take that time and set those blocks. That structure will help you not fall into apathetic or depressive kinds of behaviors that so often will start that roll downhill. Yeah. And I do want to say to people at this point, whenever I'm talking, I have to say this, though I'm a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, and I cannot diagnose and I cannot prescribe, and anything I tell you is intuitive in nature or experiential, like what works for me. But I do need to share that so people are not thinking that an MD is telling them to do this, because that means some people would give me more cred and say, oh, I got to do it. He's an MD. Well, no, I'm not. Other people are going, he's an MD. Why would I want to do that? They got us into this trouble. So either way. So that's the first thing. Set your structure and work your structure just as if you were working. Create your own thing, your own body of work to do, and be as responsible to it as if you were to an employer. So that's number one. So do you have any questions or thoughts about that before I move on?
I do not. Keep going. We got about 9 minutes left. So
Number two, we are daily grateful. My husband and I do a daily grateful every day. Whatever it is, find what you have to be grateful for. Do that do that gratitude list. Do that blessing. We're blessed. We both have essential services. We're blessed that money is not an issue for us. We're blessed we have a house. We're blessed we have cats, depending on the day. No, we're blessed. We go through, because these are times in which you are not going to always see what your blessings are. They become, yeah. Now is the time to really say, I really need to focus on these blessings and how lucky I am. Because there are people out there that are grieving over losses, that are in hospitals on ventilators, that are, I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day that, doesn't have the money to buy food and diapers for his baby because all of his essential, he was not an essential service. And so there's a lot of people out there. So find the good things. Then in that, setting your day up, make sure, number 3, you feed each part of yourself. And part of this, Rusty, is that people oftentimes will phone in relationships, or they put things on hold someday, blah. So look at your life and say, where do I now have the time to do something for my creative side every day? Maybe it's a half an hour, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's something, I don't care. Whatever it is, where can I do my creative side? What are my daily spiritual practices? Mm-hmm. I don't care whether you're Buddhist or Muslim or Christian, whatever, or pagan, but what are my daily spiritual practices, and can I do them in a more present awareness way where I feel like I am connecting to my version of God instead of just phoning it in?
Right.
Okay. My relationships, whether it's with a significant other, siblings, children, parents, friends, where can I say these relationships have been on hold, or they're there, but I haven't really. When was the last time I had a good, real, deep, meaningful, connective conversation with people in my life that I say are important, but my actions say otherwise?
Right. So
start to look at that. Do something for your physical body. I rolled a yoga mat down in my gym, downstairs in the basement, creating a little gym. Don't have a weight room. It's not all fancy. It's a yoga mat on a gym pad. And it's my iPad with YouTube videos on it that I can put up. And, for me, I love Tom Daly. He's funny. He does an ab, and he does a booty builder, and he does daily, and he's got several. I like Chris Hera, Heria. They have ones for beginners. Here's a 7-minute workout for beginners. You don't need any equipment, but doing this is more than doing, like an hour of cardio. And start at your level. There's also chair workouts, and you can do chair workouts. You can do chair yoga. If you're somebody who has physical issues, who has difficulty, find something at your level, but stimulate your body. It helps produce the right chemicals, endorphins, and it helps with a better attitude that you're doing something. In a time of feeling powerless, it's always important to find and do things that empower you. Mm-hmm. And so, and then this is then, how do I feed myself? The relationship connection can be feeding myself emotionally, but also emotional feeding can be doing things that make you feel good just for the fact of feeling good, of pampering yourself. Now, here is the warning. It's easy in a time of quarantine to go from pampering behaviors to self-abusive behaviors. And
Define.
you define?
Yeah, break it down so in simple terms.
Okay, so self-abusive behaviors are I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to overeat, or I'm going to sleep 8 or 10 hours a day. I'm going to engage in behaviors that I know aren't good for me, but it's how I feel comforted, but they have a cost.
So basically, whatever you would do if you were to take this time and say, I'm on vacation, vacation's over. It's time to get real. Back to reality.
Don't overeat, don't overdrink, don't oversleep, don't engage in a bunch of, now, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against hedonism. As long as it's in balance.
Right, you got to balance your hedonism. I'm there with you. There's balance to everything, but you
balance
can have fun and just take it light.
But when a treat is no longer a treat, but an escape behavior from feeling trapped or worried or anxious, your body takes that in, it releases the wrong chemicals, it releases the wrong attitude, you see things the wrong way. And then one of the other things is, be really honest with yourself about how connected do you need to be with what's going on. For some people, and I own up, I'm one of them, I check 3 to 4 times a day to see what the cases are worldwide, US, in the states north and south of me, and what the death count is. I do that because for me, because of who I am, I would rather see the gradual number, look at it, take it in, and adjust. For some people, they should never look at the numbers because it's only going to spiral them out and it doesn't change them. For some people, if you look at them once a day, they feel like I've kept informed. But you have to say, what kind of person am I? And then the last thing, because I know I must be almost out of time, I'm talking as fast as I can.
You are.
Find things to do for other people. I do every day, I do an energetic potluck from an hour and a half to a half an hour before sunrise. I've created an energetic place. I've asked energy healers from all over the world, anybody that wants to send a prayer, energy work, whatever, send it, program it to come in at that time. And that's East Coast time, 90 minutes to 30 minutes before. That last 30 minutes, I take all that energy, I synthesize it, and I send it out to, with the rising sun on the East Coast, I send out healing energy to humanity and the earth. So every day, I have committed 90 minutes of my time to do nothing but complete service to humanity and the world. So there, you can throw me off now.
Beautiful. Now, I'm not going to throw you quite off. You got a little bit more to go. One more request. I don't have any updated links on you, so if you can shoot them over to me, that would be great, so I can put them in the YouTube video. But also, can you verbally tell us where we can find more information, just in case somebody wants to reach out and say, hey, you know, can you help me with X, Y, and Z?
Absolutely. MyDrKevin.com is a good place. Also, Facebook /MyDrKevin. That's where all my events and classes and everything are listed. So if you go to My Dr. Kevin and like my Facebook fan page, then you'll know when I'm teaching these classes. Every week I'm doing a Dr. Kevin Spiritual Power Hour, which is my version of a church service, opening meditation and prayer. I talk, my last one was May You Live in Interesting Times. The one before that was Get Off the Cross, We Need the Wood. It's inspirational, motivational, and then I close it with the healing that you get whether you're watching it in its original live or whether you watch it as a class on demand. It's just 1 hour, but it's like having a weekly type of church service for inspiration and motivation. You can find all that on Facebook, My Dr. Kevin, and actually any social media platform out there that I'm on, if you put in MYDRKEVIN, you'll find me. Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, they're all My Dr. Kevin. That's the best way. Last thing I'll give you is my email address, which people can reach out to do that. And there you go.
Yay. All right. Many blessings to you and your love and your cats, and keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing. I'm grateful to have you in my life. I get to watch you grow and expand and change and shift and do wonderful things for wonderful people. And for that, I feel blessed.
As do I. Namaste.
Namaste. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty, and that was Dr. Kevin. All of his details will be here, 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 wherever I decide to put it. It always goes intuitively. Things that we've taken away from all of these shows. I haven't shown Spain yet, but Spain will be, I've been traveling all over the world on a virtual level. It's been really incredible. Um, Spain will be showing on in a few days and we get to learn what they're doing. But some of the things are, what's your passion? What is your mission statement? Are you doing a routine every morning? And if you're not, vacation time's over. You know, he was right, because we can fall into a bad habit of doing things that, you know, could be considered addictive. I don't know, maybe. Um, what are you doing creatively? That's a Rustyism. I give up. My tongue's twisted. What are you doing to be of service to others? What are you doing for your spiritual practice? So, tips and tricks, power, pleasure, joy, reinventing yourself, recreating yourself. It's beautiful right now. This is the time that you can do that. But vacation time really is over, isn't it? I was just getting comfy and kind of doing social distancing with my pants. Know what I mean? Anyway, until then, know that you're loved, know that you're beautiful, and tune in every Thursday to my radio show on Blog Talk Radio. And if you have any questions or thoughts, just go to rusty.info, RUST.info, and reach out. I'm offering a half an hour free chit chat session anywhere in the world. You choose. The calendar's on the website. Let's hang out. Let's talk. It's a great time to reinvent and just have a discussion with somebody who can maybe help you create your dreams. Who knows? Anyway, be good to yourself.